Hello everyone, good morning. This channel exists to discuss a myriad of things, and it was created to discuss the nature of my relationship with show business and Quentin Tarantino. The two of us have been in what is now could be described as a legendary psychic siege for going on 2 years now. And he's descended into a palpable evil in an effort to not only make me seem insane, but to actually destroy me and kill me. Right? What's the likelihood of the winner? Of course, it's the first one. I'll go crazy far faster than he'll actually destroy me. And I think that fundamentally that's like what he's seeking, is me permanently hospitalized. But I acknowledge that the hospital can't help me because these are, right? And so I'll give a quick rundown on the nature of reality before I read this letter that I sent yesterday. All of life emerges out of an intellectual certainty. This can never be proven. Can't be proven. But if life were an accident, it would not be so sophisticated. That's the idea. There's any number of mathematicians who are coming to the same conclusion, that the likelihood of it being an accident is an enormous number. Therefore, it's far likelier that there is no design without a designer. There is no painting without a painter. So, in the beginning, life was crude, but never out of place. Always doing everything according to the plan that allows it to unfold. Then, at some point, the emergence of the cell arrived. Some people have postulated that they emerged from the deep ocean through some convocation of oil and smoke vents. There's those heated vents where those tube worm colonies grow in the deep ocean. However it occurred. And from then, life continued to flourish and grow and create these complex systems, biological systems, until it arrived at man. And then the highest expression of man is the artist, and the highest expression of the artist is the medium. Right? The medium expresses their knowing often as nothing beyond a rhapsodic fervor. They have no scientific intellection with regards to where their power comes from or how they maintain it or how they express it. But at the end of the day, they are all behaving like God. That's what I'm talking about. Like, no one likes that word anymore. It seems like an archaic, dogmatic word with a bunch of baggage. Right? It has a bunch of baggage associated with it as a result of the Inquisition, right? All these things. And those points are not invalid. They are valid. But we have to take it back. We don't mean Zeus in the clouds. We don't mean Christ as a man. We mean, right, Christ as an idea. Right? That God is an abstract intellectual quality which exerts a giving, loving force upon the firmament of space, which has embedded within it a quantum hologram which can manifest all that has been, is, or ever will be. Perhaps it's some combination of the two. And we have to be wise. We have to be contemplative. Perhaps consciousness emerged, and it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me at all this way, but it could be true. As a result of motion. Ultimately, there's this line in the sand where you have to say, which came first, thought or motion? And so, if you say that motion came first, then life is accidental and has no plan, which is shallow and it has no weight intellectually. But if you say that life has an intellectual origin, then everything makes perfect sense. So, embedded within every cubic centimeter of space is this hologram, right? And the hologram can transmute out of the seemingly dead space, but it's inert space, any possible thing that can be manifested. And it exists perpetually in a state of rest, as with the abstract intellectual quality, as an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra. Here's one example. This is the vector equilibrium, the cube octahedron. Right? And 1 second. Here's another one. Right? Each within all within all. Right? An infinitely complex, dense nest or braid of polyhedral abstract archetypes. And so they exist perpetually in a state of rest until the intellectual quality, right, which is God, the pure abstraction, exerts a force of giving upon the quantum hologram, and it collapses. This begins to collapse towards becoming a dodecahedron, right? Because there's 12 pentagons surrounded by squares and triangles. And so as it's collapsing, it's engendering electric resistance. With space grading its friction against itself until the electric resistance becomes so high that like static electricity in the dryer, it can no longer remain in inert space and erupts into incandescence as corpuscular matter. Anyone who's interested in learning more about this idea, it's called the continuous two-way universe, from dust to dust. I invite you to look into the works of Walter Russell. And so, right, this is the process that unfolds everything that leads to the legitimacy of psychic phenomena. So, right, there's nothing else that's ever been occurring. Now I'm going to read this letter. I'm not going to read all of it because it has something personal that everyone I sent it to, they all know. They all know because Quentin, right? And ultimately it was a guess. I acknowledge that. I didn't have to come clean. I could have been like him and had cunning and guile, but that's not how I operate. Simple frequency. So I put it on paper and then he threw me under the bus with all of town. The whole town, and this was his design. To say, see, look how crazy he is, because I didn't give him what he wanted. So, here's the letter. You've touched on what's occurring here in a meaningful way in an interview I've referenced more than once in the year I have been seeking a resolution. You discuss it in an interview. When asked about the pause during Divided Sky, specifically, why the crowd goes wild during the pause, you said, I had the thought that I was playing the note. The note that begins that iconic coda to the song. Let's deconstruct that in a meaningful way. A thought is a quantum, non-local entity or identity. Just like the imagination and its images are real images, though they cannot be measured in space, as with a thought. The coda, which I can play, nests perfectly within the conscious field and is expressed neurologically in the brain as a novel neuronal neuronal and synaptic array engendering an electric field. Surely each person's electrical array in recognition must be bespoke, yet all similar within the electric archetype. Therefore, when you had the thought that you were playing the first note, I believe in A, despite not being the actual note, but the electric harmonic memory of the note, the psychic condition of everyone else looking to you and the band engendered a harmonic hive mind, and they all fell to you, your thought force, and began cheering in silence because they heard you thinking about the note. As far as psychic phenomenon, there's nothing else that has ever been occurring. You didn't actually play the note. You pushed the thought that you were playing it out into the crowd, and they responded accordingly. Quentin wasn't interested in responding to my letters and speaking plainly to me. He saw it as an initiation, and I don't fault him for it. It's his movie, but I opted out, and I don't consider that a death sentence. He would disagree, but I considered it to be the same thing going the other way. And sure, arrogance. He's famous, but I wanted him to show me that everything is not a fucked up mind game, that he can be honest and loving and compassionate. And so in that moment when he turned his back on my letter, I thought, I see, you want to control my mind. And so I took his direction, turned my back and left, which of course is a two-way street. I regret being a coward. I wanted to make Quentin happy and play the role. He wanted me to be strong. I do not fault him for that. Given how everything has unfolded since then, how everyone around him, including you, have let him do whatever he wants in an effort to destroy my mind and well-being to get my scene for free, is testament to my choosing the right side. I do not support evil. I do not support ugly conspiracy only topped by the gas chamber. He's a wicked, awful man that you insulate by your cowardice and silence. You think this would still be going on if he didn't have something in mind? My point in writing is that I am afraid. I have never been more afraid for my health and safety as I am now. I suspect he shot my scene some days ago. And starting then, his evil has hit a dangerous fever pitch. And I'll spend the rest of the letter deconstructing what is occurring all day, every day, as much or as little as he wants. So you might understand how evil and dangerous it is. Yes, I know. He'll say he has no idea what I'm talking about. You push a thought out that you're playing the next part of the song, and the 20,000 in attendance go wild thereby. Quentin pushes a thought out that he wants me to question him about his book, Cinema Speculation. I push a thought out and say the Lord's Prayer at Mass. They are all the same action. Remote viewing is a branch on the tree of the science of consciousness. It is the idea that consciousness is a field forever resonant in every cubic centimeter of space, and through meditation, altered states, etc., the student or adept can find persons or disparate locales with only the mind. This is not subjective New Age spirituality. This is objective science, though in terms of accepted science, still in its infancy. A polarity emerges immediately. On the side of light is the healer, nuns laying hands and praying and fasting for days on end towards the dissolution and healing of the disease in the sick, healing of disease in the sick. The other side is of consciousness. The other side is using consciousness to attempt to destroy someone or something. They are all the same tactics. It is the engendering of a novel neuronal pattern which creates an electric field that is pushed out into the universe towards its target by intention. Any document he shows you where he told me what to do is a fabrication. He and I communicate the same way you communicated with the crowd. So at first he pushed a thought out that he wanted me to question him about cinema speculation. And when I failed to do that, he pushed another thought out, that he had a secret daughter who loves me. And yes, I know his daughter's a little girl, all lies. Then he pushed another thought out that she is a whore who doesn't want me anymore. Then he pushed another thought out that the Discovery Institute wanted to help me play Hamlet. Then he pushed another thought out that you, Trey Anastasio, and your daughter Eliza were interested in helping me play Hamlet to Eliza's Ophelia. For the record, I've always known I could look up his kids. I felt bad and wanted to show him I trust him and respect it, the divinity that shapes our ends. Then, without going on and on, after about a week of me remote viewing, and Quentin clouding my insight with hideous notions, he admitted that he has no daughter. You see how they are all the same tactics? Around the time you played your West Coast run, I had the fear, what else is he prepared to do to see me dead? And immediately I had the fear of hypodermic needles and diseases. To be clear, this is the projection of a thought, out to the target, layered with clay fetishes, injected with diseases. And while you were playing in Seattle, they used bags of dirty saline and needles with AIDS and descended into real black magic evil. It's all the same idea, you understand? From then, working to get him what he wanted and sue him, which is what he's always wanted, I have been and am subjected to these hideous treatments as much or as little as he wants. Sometime around the new year, I felt the first gunshot. Again, a psychic connection is forged, typically through staring at my headshot. Then the shot as an electrical phenomenon is projected to the target by the adept. This is a very dangerous condition, which they do almost every night while I am asleep, in an effort to send me into shock, and or give me brain damage, and or actually give me a stroke or an aneurysm. Now it is worse than ever. And he forces me to believe assassins are going to murder me because I believe he resents how unwilling I am to kill myself and how strong, by his design, our connection is. These are all the same tricks, all the same tactics, to push a thought out towards a target. I fear he is at his breaking point psychologically, and am in genuine fear for my safety. I don't want to die. Please help him move on. Look in your heart. I am and always have been telling the truth. It only seems outlandish because you don't know who to believe. I do not want to die. So that's the letter. Right? And so the argument is that I'm insane, right? But last night was awful. Right? Awful. That he, right, him and the people around him meditate on my demise because they can't take it back like how close we are. That they spent all this time remote viewing me, some 200 hours. And so, we're all just in the middle of it, forever. Right? I'm moving on as best as I can. I wrote out all my lines, right? My painting's coming along. And while it's connected in some way, because it's a movie theater. Right? I have no control over what he does. Right? I know that it's easier for me than it is for them because I didn't spend all the time remote viewing them, but all the same, we have this connection. Now I don't have to. So, right, this is what's occurring. I suppose I'll stop. 16 minutes, that's enough for now. All of life is expressing a noble divinity. Like Plato's allegory of the cave, what we see are corrupted kinetic shadows of the idealized form, forever locked in the realm of idea. All things emerge out of idea and are expressed physically through the same conditions, practices that the psychic clairvoyant uses to remote view people, or that holy nuns use to heal the sick, etc., etc., etc. They're all the same things. So you can heal the sick, right? Or far easier, you can seek the destruction of someone who doesn't bend to your will. I have the right to live. And so that's why I'm talking about it. He can always say that I'm insane, right? That this has become the two positions, right? I'm insane, he's evil. And so I sent that letter as an email. I thought about mailing it, but there's no point. There's no point. And so I'll just keep writing. I'll keep writing everyone in the industry until this finds an amicable resolution. Because, right, it's just dangerous and ugly and evil right now. Right now. So uplift your soul to God, which is not a creature in creation, an abstract intellectual principle or quality. Hold those dear to you close. Do something nice for someone else. Right? Know that life is not an accident. Don't be devoted to evil. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Don't forget to hit the notification button. All the best. God bless.